Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to actually stamp the animals onto this paper here. Just want to make sure I don't have any loose grit because that can mess up my image. Okay? So now I'm going to stamp the animals on here. I am using the elephant, the hippopotamus, and I will also be using the monkey and the lion. Now when you use your acrylic stamps, make sure you peel them off gently and slowly, especially the first time you peel them from the acetate. Just peel it slowly because you could rip them and that would be tragic. Okay. So these are already primed, but just so you know, in case you've never used acrylic stamps, if you have a new stamp, like for example, I did not use the gator, and you can see that it's not stained as, say, the lion was, because I'm using Stays-On ink. Even without Stays-On ink, they do stain, but it does not affect the quality of the stamping image. But the very first time you ever use my acrylics, you do need to prime it. And how do you prime it? You take your ink pad and you ink it up and you stamp. Ink it up, stamp. Ink it up, ink it up and stamp over and over and over again, maybe about 6-7 times. And as you do that, you will start to notice a more clean image. And once you've done that, it's primed and you won't have to do that again. I have read on some message boards where people have recommended sanding your acrylic stamps, and you do not want to do that. You can get away with that with rubber stamps, but you cannot do that with acrylic. You will ruin them. So please don't follow that advice. And if you do use them on your rubber stamps, make sure you're using a fine grit sandpaper. You need just enough, and don't go crazy, just a little bit of rubbing to get off any residue that might be on there from the vulcanizing process that the rubber goes through. Okay, so now we're going to stamp, and we're just going to do this in the Exclusive Inks Black. We'll be using the Stays-On in a little bit, but we're just going to use the regular black right now because this is not going to get watercolored on. Now I had my elephant on the left side, which is going to be this side. I'm trying to do it upside down, so bear with me here. When you stamp, it's good to tap, swirl, and then tap again, especially if you're using more of a solid image. These are line image and won't make that much of an impact, but you want to tap, and then we're just going to stamp, press down, try not to rock, but just press down and give it a second to absorb the inks in the paper. You don't want to stamp and lift up right away, but if you give it just a second to soak in the ink, you'll get a nice image. And again, this is underneath all the cutout pieces, so it's not that crucial that it's a perfect image. But again, tap, tap, swirl, tap, tap, and try to line the hippo up. I lined it up where the tail of the hippo, the back end, is lined up with the elephant's ear. Okay, and the acrylics are nice too, again, because you can see through them, which is so nice because it makes it easier to line those up. Alright, now I'm going to change out my stamps. I do need to clean them, so give me a second for that. This is the double scrubber, and this side is what you will use my acrylic spritz on, and then you will clean them off like this. Okay, I'm not going to put this away right yet because we're going to be using this again with Stays-On. Since I just put spritz on, my block became a little wet, and I just kind of wipe it off like that. Put this off to the side. I need to stamp the adorable little lion. Oh, one thing I wanted to note too that you may not be aware of is that my acrylic stamps actually have a groove where they have been, I suppose, laser cut to give a groove to help with lining up. But we also have the acrylic buddies that are like a cling, where they're different sizes and they'll actually cling to your stamp for gridding and lining up. But in this case, that works really great when you need it to line up exactly right. I don't know why I closed this up. Okay. So a fleck of something. Alright, so then, now this is going to look odd because they're overlapping, but that's okay. Again, we're going to be covering this up. Okay, I'm clean my stamp. Take off my acrylic here for just a second, and I'm going to put the monkey on. This is when it's handy to have multiples of acrylic blocks, but not at this time. I have one of each. So now we're going to make this monkey look like he is sitting on top of the hippo. Okay, now obviously you can see his head is off of the card, and that's okay because where we cut it out is going to extend over the edge. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to show you how to put our sentiment on this strip, just like we did here. We're going to do that, but as you can see, well, the image is 2 lines. Now one way you could do this is you could use a marker and you could ink up just the part you want, but since I don't have the color marker I want to use, I'm going to use my chocolate ink pad, and I just want to stamp Wild Thing. So what I have to do is I have to mask, and this is one thing every stamper should have in their supply, and that is Post-it notepad. Because what you'll do is you'll just stamp and stamp on the sticky part. So I want Wild Thing. I probably should have done it the other direction because you want the sticky part to be first. So let me do that over. I want to cover I Think I Love You, so that won't stamp. So that's what I'll do there. And then I will cut this out. And I've already done that. So I need to cover up I Think I Love You. So if I put this here, and I can actually use my other piece to kind of make sure I have it lined up before I start stamping. So I can have it nice and centered, and then I'll just center this. Of course I trimmed it more than... Okay. So what I can do is just hover over, and I'm going to have to do this way, ladies, because I will never do it right if I can't look over it. So it looks good, so I'm going to ink up, and I'm going to line up the Love You part. And again, there's another plus with acrylics. It would be really difficult to do this with wood stamps without using a stamp positioner. So you can see now I have Wild Thing without the Love You part. Now I want to do the same thing, but just the opposite. So this time I use that Wild Thing that I want to cover up, and I will place that here. And again, if I want to make sure it's lined up, centered where I want it, I can use that other piece, and I'm happy with that. So I'll peel, oh, nope, see, I almost messed up. I'm going to put this here. Oops, that's not right either. Alright, put that about here. And the reason I can tell is because my Post-it note edges should line up. But if I'm not sure, I can look here and kind of see if I have it lined up appropriately. Yep, I'm happy with that, the positioning. So it's centered. So now what I'm going to do again is ink up. And I'm going to see if I've got this lined up right here. And again, press down, try not to rock, give it a second to absorb the ink. Yep, and peel this, and there you go. Alright, so that's masking. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the animals in StazOn.